Well, hello everyone. Let's just give a couple of minutes, maybe a minute more for some additional participants. We're seeing some more folks join in. So let's just give ourselves exactly a minute longer, and I think we're ready to get started. Okay, I think that's about enough time. We're starting to see more folks come in here. So, hello all, and welcome to this session today. Quick word of introduction. I am Satish, CEO and co-founder of Connixt, and with me is
Prabu Ekambaram, CTO and co-founder at Connixt. Hi, everybody.
great. So we're here to discuss maintenance and how maintenance can be made smarter, simpler, and faster. Our taglines by connecting systems and also with the application of AI. Prabhu, your thoughts?
In this session, we also will cover some practical use cases and how an impact of an AI engine or automation, basically helps.
Great. And of course, as Prabhu always likes to emphasize every time we talk about this, either in private or out here, we just don't implement tech for the sake of technology. It always has to be grounded in actual use cases, and that's also something we expect as we to cover as we go forward in this session. So with that said, broadly, uh, what we expect to discuss today is again a quick walkthrough of what connected maintenance is all about, our vision of what that is, the role that we as Connixt are proud to play a part of in that, and most importantly, where AI and integration can actually help with all of this. So, without much further ado, let's talk a bit about connected maintenance. So, Prabhu, do you want to talk through this a bit?
Yeah, in this today's maintenance world, right, with our experience, all these systems are fragmented. Um, all the environments are fragmented across multiple systems, EAMs, ERPs, telematics, ELDs, IoT devices. All these different systems out there are in data silos, and they are not integrated enough, right? When these systems are connected, operations become smarter. It goes back to smarter, simpler, faster, right? One quick, a small use case with one of our customers is, say there is a ELD device or a telematics device running on an truck, right, or a car or any automobile for that matter. Say there is an engine light. Now, what we can do with that kind of information is we can pick up that engine light message from that ELD platform. If it is dangerous enough, we can create an auto work order, send alerts to maintenance team saying that, hey, this is so bad, this particular truck cannot operate, or this particular car or whatever that equipment that we are talking cannot operate, right? I'm taking ELD device as an example, but any IoT device for that matter, right? So we can pick up signals and then alert the maintenance team saying that this equipment cannot operate. Now that we can achieve through integration. On top of it, we can, again, we'll talk about those use cases. We can apply AI engines intelligence where it helps a mechanic to decide on what needs to be done. Satish?
Yeah. So let me add one other aspect to this, right? While we talk about ERPs, EAMs, CMMS systems, and certainly mobile applications like ours, um, and sensors, one of the most prevalent, the most common systems we have seen really uh, is in every single shop, large and small enterprises, is paper, clipboard, and spreadsheets. In addition, of course, to whiteboards and post-it notes. I mean, this is again the reality of life in shop floors, in maintenance on a daily basis. Clearly, each of these systems, including the whiteboards, are specifically good in meeting those individual needs, within an environment. But the Connixt iMark platform kind of brings these together and seamlessly, and that's truly what we've been doing, which is a nice segue into what we've been working on for about a decade now here at Connixt. Our history is long and in this area, and we've talked quite a bit about this in recent times, plus in the past. And in fact, I encourage everybody to go and read up the blog. There's an actual origin story of Connixt out there. Please do go and look it up and ask us questions if you have any. But the goal again for us really has been to sort of blend these multiple systems as seamlessly as possible, and most importantly, make it easy for the mechanic, the technician, the end user. I mean, this is something we have not deviated from day one. So speaking of which, let's first address this question of integration. Um, you know, Prabhu, we started with this objective of open enterprise architecture. This is kind of a unique approach we took back then.
Yes.
Essentially, it's an all are welcome sign in terms of integration. Can you talk to this a bit more? I mean, this is really sort of core to what our product does.
Yes, sure. So from the philosophy aspect of it, right? No code, flexible and secure. Now, when I say no code, of course, if there is a new legacy system, we will spend time in integrating with those systems, but we will touch the code for that. But for an EAM system or an ERP system where an API is available, we pretty much can configure it and connect with those systems. And the mapping and the API, as long as the API is available, we will be able to connect with it. And we also don't want to rock the boat, in the sense we want to coexist and be non-invasive. When coming in, we make sure that you are not touching your EAM system as much as possible, your ERP system as much as possible, and we work with whatever that is available in your environment. Also, we try to do as much real time and two-way data flow as much as possible. Now, there are certain transactions that when we implement, we decide go batch mode and all those things, but with all our customers, the more the real time, the better the output is, right? So we also concentrate on that. End of the day, what we achieve by all these things is the cost to customer is low, point of failures is low, not too many moving parts, and also it becomes ERP agnostic. When I say, ERP agnostic, we want to be very specific or very particular, saying that as long as there is an API available, we will be able to connect with any kind of EAM system out there. And if there is a legacy system which do not have a API layer, we will be able to develop one for them and then connect with them. Essentially, end of the day, we want to extend and augment instead of ripping it and replacing it.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of one of the most interesting aspects to all of this, right? So there is the technology when it comes to integration, right? So extend and augment versus rip and replace, right? So we start from a position of point of what everybody's familiar with, what has already worked, and then moved them along from there into this new world of connected maintenance. But for a minute, let's talk a bit more about time, right? So we've talked about technology. Let's talk about time. We keep going back to smarter, simpler, and faster. I mean, this is right below our company's name. Let's talk about faster here for a moment, and what that truly means for customers, and more importantly for end users. This sort of has been a driving philosophy for us again from the beginning.
Yeah. In fact, deployment in weeks, not months or years.
Yeah.
We are very particular about it. Now, one thing that people don't like about enterprise implementations is it goes for months and years, right? Everybody can acknowledge to it. But we are very particular that The deployment and implementation happens within weeks based on the scope what we are implementing. Now, having said that, this again goes back to cost to customer being low. When we say cost to customer, I'm not talking just the product cost, right? I'm talking about the time invested by a customer to make this solution possible, right? Even that we try to reduce. We involve them only in certain phases, minimize the involvement as much as possible to save time from their side. We will involve customers right upfront in the implementation process for getting the feedbacks and all those things. But end of the day, we are sensitive to how much the customer spends from his side for implementing this product. We try to take the load. I don't want to say a turnkey operation because without end user feedback, it
Yep.
will not be a good implementation, but we try to make it as turnkey as much as possible.
Actually, in other words, really, to translate this more from a business standpoint, for the folks that sign checks, um, what this really means is that the total cost of ownership drops. And the second part to this really, and Prabhu, you've already touched on this, which is in this mobile world, right? We're used to, swiping down for refresh on the screens. We're used to seeing things happen right away, forms submitted and so on. Um, Change has to be deployed instantly, not over months. And I think this really has been one of the big breaks in deployments such as ours within enterprise environments, where people are used to seeing this extend over months or years. And I think we've all been through all of that. Certainly, we've done this in our past lives. So that's I think one of the key aspects. And speaking of which, let's talk for a moment about the big integration elements out there, right? So ERPs and EAMs.
Yeah, when it comes to before and after scenarios, right? Again, faster repairs, fewer errors, better visibility across assets. Why? By integrating these systems together, the mechanic or a technician or a manager or whoever that end user is, right? They spend more time in doing their actual work rather than spending time in syncing these systems, right? You collect data in one system, go back and update another system. If these updates are happening on time, not happening on time, there is always they are out of sync and all those things, right? So essentially it enables them to spend more time on doing the actual job. And instant approvals. I can take a very quick use case on this with one of our customers, right? When we implemented the solution to them, initially all inspections they were doing were going through approval process. Now, once they got used to it, the way we integrated with their EAM system, they came back and told, hey, send me the inspections which are having failed items in it, like managing by exception, right? And also on top of it, the decision making of a follow on work order or a maintenance work order being created, we moved it to a supervisor decision. That way, we reduced duplicate work order creation, inspection updates happened on time. So this enables the inspections to be instantly approved. Not only that, the follow on work is done appropriately. Now, part of the inspection activity, they also do maintenance, right? Now, wait time on parts reduces a lot because
Yep.
when they are doing the inspection right there, they will be able to see is the part available. Now, if the part on hand quantity is running low, there will be alerts in place saying that, hey, for this specific day, for this specific shift, this many parts are consumed. Down the line in 3 weeks, you are going to run out of these parts, right? So those automations will happen. Again, by integration, we can achieve this because still the system of choice will be EAM system for these inventories. Of course, we can also handle that for a medium size company, but or a business. But when it comes to large customers, right, they have their own EAM system or ERP system for handling inventory. By integration, this happens seamlessly so that the parts department gets notified saying that, hey, we are running low on parts, right? So reduce wait time on parts. And again, I touched upon the parts availability and visibility, right? That's the key when it comes to implementation, or when it comes to maintaining a specific equipment, right? Now, in a nutshell, just to recap, not only we can monitor parts, it reduces the follow-on work orders, and they manage by exception. That's the key there. They don't need to keep on seeing all documents that are created, all inspections that are created. The managers and supervisors spend time only on those which needs their attention. Whereas the end user, as long as they collect the data from the field, they submit it, it seamlessly goes back and updates the EAM system. All these things are achieved through integration, seamless integration. Satish?
Yep. So, in fact, that leads us to this. This has been a big one, right? IoT and certainly telematics and sensors and equipment, a big one for the past 10 years. And that I think there is this crucial gap, Prabhu, between enterprise systems on the one hand, and then there is the sensors and the IoTs and the telematics on the other hand. And sort of the third leg of the stool is the actual technician, the maintenance person that is actually working on that asset.
Yes.
And I'm glad to say we've been on the forefront of this for a while. And so let's talk through some of these use cases. I have a couple, but maybe you can go first on this.
Sure. In fact, we evolved through time. That much I can tell. Satish, you remember when we started, right? Initially, our customers used to keep Excel sheets tracking the mileage of the asset and then creating PM inspections. You remember those days? Now,
yes.
Eventually, these telematic devices or ELD devices, right? We can take that as an example. Samsara, GoMotive, Geotab, Verizon, BlackBerry, you name it, right? There are so many systems out there where when you install a OBD2 sensor, it tracks the mileage. Now, what we did is, just as an example and a use case, right? We started tracking those mileages through integration. Again, seamless integration that plays a key role here, right? Now, every 20K, again, one of our customer is using it, where every 20,000 miles, they have to create a work order with a A service or a B service or a C service for that truck, because that is mandated by Department of Transportation, right? DOT. Now, how they were doing, somebody was monitoring those mileages whenever it pulls up in the shop, whichever mechanic is maintaining that truck on that day, says, oh, there is a this thing 20,000 miles has run. So it was all manual. Right now we went ahead and integrated with their telematics platform. So now what we do is we automatically create work orders every 20,000 miles, and it gets assigned to set of mechanics so that they don't need to think when an inspection needs to be done. Work orders are already available there for the given mileage limits, and then they do the DOT inspection. And we also, it's kind of predictive in nature, right? We know how much miles are run by the truck on an average basis, and then we can predict that, hey, down the line in 3 weeks, in 3 months, based on whatever that it is, running, whatever time frame or mileage that it is running, we can tell in 3 weeks or 3 months, PM is going to be due. Now, we work with our customers on how early these PM work orders needs to be created, but this helps very much in automation where we track the mileage, create the work orders. Similarly, engine lights, we track the engine light fault codes, create the work orders for maintenance purposes, right? So there are so many automations we can do in this aspect, where going forward, as long as there is a ELD device in a truck, an individual doesn't need to decide what maintenance work order needs to be created. The system decides for him. Satish?
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting, right, Prabhu? So the first part of this is where an enterprise system, a CMMS, tells us, hey, go ahead and do the maintenance on this date, this time, or whatever, right? Every 3 months, 6 months, I think. The second is where a technician out there is able to do an inspection and say, hey, this needs service, so that's a service request. And this third model where the equipment is actually asking for
Yeah.
maintenance to be done, right?
Yes.
It literally is tapping somebody on the shoulder and saying, hey, here is something happening. And based on these three things, I believe that, I need, oil changed, or, brake pads changed, or tuning belt changed, whatever be that, right?
Hmm.
Whatever be the equipment. I mean, that's sort of the direction that this is all moving into. I think one other interesting case, and again, going back to this is typically beginning of shift work within any environment, but for example, within trucking, there is the driver vehicle inspection report. Not only is that mandatory and has to be done, the question is really, are we tracking the defects identified? Are those being closed out? Now, multiply this if you had a fleet of 50, 100, 200, 5,000 trucks. Who and how is this going to be maintained? And while in aggregate, everything has to be maintained, also individually, those bits of equipment have to be maintained. So I
Yeah.
think, again, we've been at the forefront of sort of bridging that gap between enterprise system, the sensors, and the technician, in addition to creating the mandatory reports and so on.
Right. Added to that, Satish, just to add, think
Yep.
about this, right? DVARs are mandated by, again, DOT, right? So
Mhm.
it is required. Now, on top of it, through integration, again, when a DVAR gets created, it gets published to our system. The user goes ahead and fixes it, and we go back and close loop that DVAR inside the telematics platform saying that, hey, it is done. Because again, that's the system of choice for DVARs, right? Now, having said that, there are two value adds here, right? One is automation through integration. Also, when the actual fix is being done with iMark, the mechanics and technicians can upload images, right? And upload additional comments. They can collect so much data
Mhm.
as part of that maintenance task so that they can prove to a DOT inspector that, hey, yes, we did it. This is what the documentation behind it, right? Because there are occasions where they fix something, it blows up on road, because at the end of the day it's an automobile, right? So it can fail, but they can still come back and say, on such and such mileage, here are the pictures associated with it, and here is the proof associated with it, right? So data enriching helps a lot from that aspect, Satish.
So I think again, and without belaboring this too much, right? Why this connected maintenance, why this integration is critical is one, clearly there is ROI, greater efficiencies, doing jobs better, increasing wrench time. We've talked about that. The second is this aspect of compliance, which is a big part of where a lot of our customers, use us quite a bit, and there is a big need out there because no one enjoys the act of generating reports, but those are a necessity to ensure it's a safe and well maintained set of equipment or fleet or facilities, whatever.
Yeah.
The third aspect, again, and we never really talk enough about this, is the tons of paper we end up saving because things are filed away, and god forbid there is an audit, people have to go and sort of comb through these things, but that's just the sort of the end result. In the process, right, maintenance sort of falls short, equipment life sort of drops, safety actually becomes compromised. So again, connected maintenance addresses a bunch of these things. Um, so that brings us to the big one, right? AI. Everyone wants it, everybody talks about it, and almost everybody fears it. So first and foremost, I think to set the ground here, Connixt, we introduced our iBot maintenance assistant as late as last year. But that was after at least 2 years of researching specific use cases that our customers wanted to see in action. And Prabhu, again, so this is your opportunity to talk about that overriding philosophy, right?
Yes.
That governs all of Connect's product development. So please go have your say there.
And we were under tremendous pressure to talk about AI during those time when AI was introduced. But again, we go back to our philosophy, right? Tech not for the sake of technology. We don't do anything, or we don't add anything to our product just to claim that, hey, we are doing this, unless there is a value add to a customer. It has to be easy for the end user. When I say easy for the end user, it should help the end user at least a little bit for them to do their day-to-day job, right? So unless there is a value add, unless it makes sense for the organic growth for the product, we don't implement anything. Now, having said that, like Satish pointed out earlier, we took 2 years to come up with specific use cases that will help our customers. And we identified those and picked a couple of those, started implementing it, and one of our customers is already using it. Now, when we identified these use cases, we went to our customers. We went to our some of our well-wishers too. We made sure those use cases make sense, and then we started implementing AI as a part of our product. In fact, again, like I told, we don't do anything for the sake of technology. We are very, very sincere about it.
Great. And Prabhu, maybe this might be a good time to talk about those couple of use cases and again
Yeah.
the value that they're kind of delivering. I think that would be helpful.
Sure. One is, say a mechanic is doing a maintenance task. He can ask, we call it as a maintenance assistant. In fact, there is a screenshot there on that PowerPoint. So he can ask a question to our iBot engine, and then it can go to models out there and then get a response. Now, in this case, we have integrated with ChatGPT, but we have come up with a framework where we want to rely on existing models to start with, and also we have come up with a framework where we can configure these various engines out there, right? Today it is ChatGPT. Tomorrow it can be Gemini. Later it can be a customer's own model that resides within a customer environment, so that our product will be configurable enough to talk to any of these platforms out there, right? Models out there. That is maintenance assistant. The next one is for language translation. Now, we all know Google Translate, right? Now we have to tell what is the source language and what is the target language. Now, after this AI engines, and especially we are using Azure Translate for that, we don't need to tell what is the source language. It understands on its own and then gives the translation in English. Where it is helpful, people who speak languages other than English can talk fluently, and then we record it in the sense there is a speech to text option where it types it for them, and then we send it to that AI translate engine. It comes back with English translation, and then we store both the text in the source language and the text in the translated language, right? We store it in the system. I should tell you one example, right, where this translate will help. Again, one of our customers, out of all benefits that he was mentioning, one thing really he was excited because, hey, now I don't need to go and understand somebody else's writing, right? It's a very simple thing, I'm telling you. It's when you hear about it, it's a very simple thing, but in a day-to-day life, somebody is sitting and reading somebody else's writing, that too in a different language, it'll be hell, right? So again, we have identified, again, we are very sincere to what we implement in our product, whether it adds value to an end user and also to the organization.
Yeah, the one thing I will add to this, and again, it just leverages what you've talked about here, Prabhu, is one of the interesting byproducts to all of this, right? When people can speak in their own language, with regard to something as mundane as day to day as how they maintain something or how they fixed an issue, and we are able to capture that and translate it and store it for retrieval in some other part of the world in another language. One of the biggest benefits we're seeing as a kind of a byproduct to this is people actually communicate a lot more. We are truly enriching data. We are capturing information that is otherwise completely lost.
Yes.
And somewhere out there, we've also, Prabhu and I have talked quite a bit about what we broadly call institutional IP. So how do you capture that information, that knowledge that is so unique to what that particular technician brings to the table, and before they retire or decide to move on, how do you essentially capture that? So I mean, there's a lot of downstream impact, and I think potentially those benefits might outweigh.
Yep.
So let's as we went through the last couple of things we want to talk about, right? So why are we talking about open integration, AI deployment, and so on now? The goal is really to give our end users one version of truth. That one platform that can cover every asset in the organization. So if you look at it, we truly mean this, right? One platform pretty much for every asset out there, to be kind of this operating system out on the field for your mechanics, your technicians, and your own assets, whether these be fleet or facilities or heavy equipment. And we have use cases on all in all of these areas. Whatever be the backend enterprise system, the ERP, EAM, CMMS, whatever be the IoT or the telematics in place. And in some instances where there is no backend system where we actually play that role,
Yeah.
we are here at the front end to help the end user get the work done.
Yeah.
So the IT is not the challenge, the getting the work done is the challenge. And that's what we're here to help do.
Yeah. And also in a nutshell, right? This one platform, core features wise, right? Secure APIs and data synchronization, right? Sync data across systems, which also we can also do real-time updates, right, to the systems. With all these, what we achieve, unified dashboards. You can see data from multiple systems in one single dashboard, which could be us, right? On top of it, there's role-based visibility and also mobile and web access. We want to emphasize on that because mobile will be used by mechanics and technicians enriching the data. Web will be mostly used by the supervisors and managers for approvals and managing the exceptions, right? So we cover all these things through integration. Go ahead, Satish.
Uh, so fundamentally, right, I mean, and as promised right at the beginning, right, we want to anchor this in a couple of use cases. I'd encourage everybody to go to our website. Clearly, I mean, we do want to drive traffic, but more importantly, there are specific use cases, there are specific case studies that we have out there. So here's where we'll touch on a couple of those use cases. This is where the good stuff comes in, and then we have a few questions flowing in, and hopefully we'll have some time to address those too. So first, again, this is one of our long-standing customers from across the border in Canada. Again, Prabhu, do you want to talk about this for a couple of
Yeah.
minutes? And again, more detail available on the web. So it's just a quick
Yes, yes, I'll be short, Satish, because we are running out of time, I know. So
sure.
when it comes to, pain transport itself, right? They were using pen and paper to start with, and somebody writes on a paper, and then they go and key it in their EAM system. In their case, it's TruckMate. Now, what we did is we automated their work order creation and associated inspections. Now, when I say work order creation, the work order with parts, it goes back to what we discussed earlier, right? Parts visibility and all those things with parts and labor. So a mechanic that who is doing his task in the shop creates a work order using his mobile with all these parts that he is consuming and the labor hours. It goes and updates the EAM system and the work order is available because in the system, and based on that, they get paid. It's as simple as that, right? It goes back to what is that ROI that the customer is going to get, right? So it is automated. Previously, they have to go back, key in, they miss parts, they miss labor times, they go back, they correct. It goes back and forth, right? Now it is automated through our product.
And a second one, again, another interesting sort of different flavor to all of this from public transit within the public sector. Prabhu, do you want to talk about this for just a
Yes.
minute?
In this case, it is RTA to which we are connecting. This is a key customer where the PDF reports, right, that is generated out of these inspections gets pushed into RTA in DOT's approved format. See, that's the key there, right? So it is they're doing maintenance and then pushing the reports and all the work order information into RTA. This is the customer who is also using our iBot, which is the mechanic assistant and also the translate engine. Now, on top of it, when it comes to RTA, we also help them in parts consumption and everything. Having said that, in case of especially Foothill, uh, the integration is so much seamless now for them to see how many parts are available across divisions. They log in into our product and then see what is the quantity that is available in the system, uh, which helps them to see to have a summary view of all the parts availability.
So again, I think the one learning from this too that we definitely want to sort of leave on the table for everyone is, while your enterprise system clearly is your system of record and things go and reside there, and it could be a financial accounting, all of that. In our opinion, those are kind of after the fact and way after the fact too. What within connected maintenance, the way we see it is, at least the way Connixt handles this, is it is instant, it is real time for that very moment, and this is the best snapshot you can get of what is happening right now. So with that said, we do want to talk a bit more about just a sort of a summary about what does smart maintenance or connected maintenance look like, right? So every team and asset, everything connected, but the goal really is deeper predictive insights powered by our maintenance assistant iBot, um, greater integration, and this is something that I know, Prabhu, you and your team are constantly working on,
Yes.
more enterprise systems,
Yes.
telematics, IoT, and sensors. And in a sense, this is work management that is automated to the extent where the asset will demand that the work has to be done. And we are able to actually present it to the appropriate technician to actually get the work done. Uh,
Just
increased,
to
sorry, Prabhu, go ahead,
good,
please.
good, Satish. Good. Sorry, you
No, no,
finish.
please.
No, just to add to it, Satish, we handle data than more data than what an ERP or an EAM could handle.
Yeah.
We fill the gap. Like for example, for a specific equipment or an asset, they collect hundreds of characteristics, right? But all this information cannot be stored in an EAM system. So we fill the gap on that front too.
Yeah. So basically, right, I mean, before we jump into questions, our vision, the goal is really every asset, every team, and every system all connected and operating together. I mean, this is sort of the goal that Connixt has. This is what we are striving to. Which then brings us to, we have a bunch of questions sort of showing up here. Let's sort of handle those in a second. I'm going to flip screens, hopefully. So there you are. We're on Q&A right now. Let's see. What are the most immediate benefits companies see when they unify their data, and what takes longer to realize? You want to handle that?
Um, that's a good one, right? See, again, like we mentioned earlier, we can handle more than what an EAM can handle. That's the key aspect of everything, right? Data gets recorded, it gets documented, it gets stored. We can run analytics and report on top of it. Now, next is auditing and compliance, right? We can, with whatever data that has been collected, we can not only generate reports in DOT specific formats that can be pushed into the ERP and EAM systems. Change management, right? Any changes that comes on our way, because the product is configurable, because our integration layer is configurable, and also we work with standard APIs, the change management becomes simpler for us.
I want to address this question of what typically takes a longer time to realize, right? The more data in the system, the better, I think, the output becomes in terms of patterns that can be detected, in terms of aspects related even to HR and training, right? Why is Division 1 always performing better on first time fixes than Division 2? Why is some particular location doing a 2x better job in what they are supposed to do in terms of maintaining equipment in the month of February than a different location? So I think it sort of teases out a lot of things that we may otherwise not simply be able to absorb and come back with. So I think that sort of is the longer term impact in areas yet unknown. I mean, I don't think we can even predict. Might go as far as what kind of training, what kind of certifications have to be done, and so on. Here's another question I'm seeing pop up here. There is this point about integration, Prabhu, that you talked about, I talked about. So, okay, the basic question is it really easy? Our system is pretty legacy.
See, yes and no, right? I wouldn't say integration is, I wouldn't categorize that as easy, but it can be done. It can be seamless. Um, if you are having a legacy system, right? And if you don't have an API layer available, we will be able to create one for you, right? So I it depends on how complex your environment is. So I don't want to sugarcoat it, but overall, if there is an EAM system out there where API layers are available, it's easy. I'll tell you that, right? Now, when it comes to a legacy system, and if you don't have an API layer, then it becomes little complex. But again, it depends on how complex your system is. But end of the day, we will be able to connect and integrate.
So here then is, I think, one that I will be able to take up right away, right? I have some idea, but how has IMARC been deployed? This is Connixt IMARC, a platform being deployed for the rail and transit industries. I imagine those needs are pretty complex and specific. The short answer is yes, complex and specific. But what I believe has been engineered into the platform, this open architecture, genuinely allows us to be able to configure, and we use the word customize with caution, but from an end user standpoint, it is highly custom to what they do and how they do their work on a daily basis. But broadly speaking, the configurability of the product allows it to be adapted to multiple verticals.
Yeah.
So Prabhu talked about public transit and, for example, or the trucking industry and DOT, or rail freight and the FRA requirements, right? And there are similar requirements in Canada, similar requirements in other parts of the world. We are able to meet those not just from a compliance standpoint, we are able to also handle language requirements, multilingual language requirements. Several of our customers, they need those. But that's just how it is presented, right? There are specific use cases that we can talk about, and we have entire presentations and webinars we've done just talking about one of these, and there is enough articles. So again, if there is more specific information you want, please do forward to us. But the short answer to your question is requirements are complex and specific. We've been exceedingly good at meeting complex and specific requirements within industries. One data point I do want to share. So one of our customers in the rail industry, rail maintenance of way, for example, a spreadsheet that had about 5,000 lines, right? That's basically what we are tackling. I mean, this is 60 or 70,000 tons worth of equipment that is essentially being used on a daily basis, being stripped down and rebuilt and so on. So that's the complexity we can answer.
Correct. And again, the configurability plays a key role, especially in the rail industry, because Satish, that equipment types are different. There is a rail car, there is track, there is switch and frog, signals, all those things, right? So configurability is the key here.
So here is an interesting question, and probably maybe the last. I think I'm already getting an indicator that we're running out of time. But is anyone using AI to analyze part utilization on a fleet by fleet basis to determine parts life cycle? and or using AI to identify when specific assets have repeat parts failing prematurely. So the idea is really, Prabhu, goes back to a large extent on the use of components or parts, the inventory that goes into the maintenance,
Yes.
how it is surviving. I mean, how it is sort
See,
of.
I'll tell you this, right? One is with our existing customers, is somebody using our AI engine to predict that? No, the answer is no. But having said that, what we are trying to automate is ordering of parts based on the monthly usage. And what we are trying to also achieve is not only just monthly usage, seasonal usage, right? So bringing all these things together and then predicting that this part is going to run out in certain time frame, and then taking the lead time that is required to purchase that part, so that we calculate all these things together and send email alerts to parts department. I think I touched upon this earlier. We send email alerts to parts department saying that, hey, it's time to order parts. So that's the use case that we have implemented.
So if I can slip a bit into some math here, right? So the first conclusion we can come to out of patterns of consumption is, are you going to, run out of parts, required for maintenance? So that's sort of the first degree, that we can, of conclusions we can actually arrive at. But sort of speaking, the next differential, right, is why are we actually consuming these parts? Are they failing more in these locations? Where are they being used? All of this really goes back to having adequate data in there to actually tease out those patterns. So to answer this question, I wish I could give a specific answer to say, what, XYZ customers are using this, but in general, right, the law of large numbers applies here. We do want to see a year, 2 years, or 3 years worth of data in order to figure this out, because
Yes.
anything with a smaller sample set will likely provide incorrect information. One of the best examples that we can give, and we've actually tackled this in the past too, uh, your system is great at telling you when reorder point is hit. So it will tell you, hey, reorder point has been hit, so order more parts. Where we are going is now to say that, hey, what is the rate at which the reorder point is being hit? Is this normal, or are we seeing this happen more frequently? That pattern is what we are trying to get to. And then the second layer below that is, why are we hitting that pattern? Is it because more rains, brake pads are failing more, or is it simply because bad driving? Is it simply because there's more stop and go, the traffic is poor, needs better routing? So that's really where it goes, and it may be new equipment that is introduced, new fleet that is introduced into service that requires this different. Um, and I promised the last comment on this, right? For example, in the case of fleet, whether it is public transit or private, carriers, there are new types of vehicles being introduced. So EV and so on. So even the type of maintenance required there is actually changing. So again, in order to detect those kind of patterns, we would recommend at least 3 to 5 years worth of data before you can arrive at any kind of a conclusion. I absolutely have a drop dead announcement from marketing saying that we need to stop now. But again, truly appreciate it. As always, we've enjoyed sharing ideas and talking through this. Thank you so much for everybody's participation. Please do feel free to reach out to us if there is more questions that we can address, anything else we can talk through. But otherwise, Prabhu, as always, fun doing this. And
Yes.
thank you all for participating. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Thank you.